Celine's grin lingers like the edge of a blade. She enjoys this. The game. The power of knowing more than she lets on. I don't. The night air is thick with smoke and the distant scent of rain. The corpses on the rooftop are already cooling, their blood darkening against the clay tiles. Time is short. I glance at the narrow alley below, calculating the best escape route. Celine follows my gaze.
We should move. I doubt they came alone.
We descend into the shadows, moving with practiced ease. My ribs protest with every leap, every landing. The wound isn't deep, but it's messy. Sloppy. I don't make mistakes like this. Someone planned for me to die tonight. The weight of that realization is heavier than the injury. We slip through the back streets of Venari, avoiding the main roads where city guards patrol with torches and watchful eyes. This district, Grenhaven, reeks of damp wood, unwashed bodies, and stale ale. The kind of place where no one asks questions, even when someone staggers into an alley bleeding. Celine leads me to a nondescript doorway, knocking twice in a peculiar rhythm. A metal slit slides open, revealing a pair of dark, suspicious eyes.
It's me,
Celine says smoothly. A pause. Then the door creaks open. Inside, the air is warmer, laced with burning incense and cheap perfume. The dimly lit room is filled with mismatched furniture, stacks of parchment, and an assortment of weapons hanging on the walls. A handful of men and women sit at a table playing cards, but they barely glance up as we enter. Celine pulls off her cloak and tosses it onto a chair.
Welcome to my humble sanctuary.
I arch a brow. Still running with thieves and smugglers, I see.
What can I say? Old habits die hard.
I ignore the amusement in her voice and lower myself into a chair, pressing a hand against my ribs. The pain is tolerable, but I need to wrap it soon. Celine watches me with a knowing expression before turning to a lanky man with ink-stained fingers.
Beldris, get the good stuff.
The scribe nods, vanishing into a back room. I exhale, leveling my gaze at her. Enough games. Who set me up? Celine leans against the table, crossing her arms.
First, tell me, who gave you the contract on Vostan?
I hesitate. Not because I don't know, but because information is currency. And right now, I don't know what she wants. She sees my hesitation and smirks.
Come on, Raezur, I saved your life. Give me something.
I weigh my options, then relent. The contract came from a broker in the Brass Quarter. No name. Just a sealed letter and a down payment. Celine tilts her head.
Sealed with what?
I pause, replaying the memory. The wax had been dark green, pressed with an emblem I didn't recognize. A sigil. A serpent coiled around a dagger. Her amusement vanishes. The room feels colder. Celine exhales sharply.
Shit!
I narrow my eyes. You know it? She hesitates, just for a fraction of a second, before nodding.
That's the Emerald Veil.
A name I know too well. The Emerald Veil isn't just a guild. They are a network of spies, assassins, and information brokers woven deep into the veins of Venari. They don't deal in coin. They deal in secrets. And if they marked me for death, it means I stumbled into something far more dangerous than a simple contract. I lean forward. Why would they want me dead? Celine taps her fingers against the table.
That's the real question, isn't it?
Before I can press her further, Beldris returns with a small leather pouch. Celine takes it, pulls out a roll of clean bandages, and tosses them to me. I catch them mid-air. I assume this isn't free. She grins.
Consider it an investment. If the Emerald Veil is involved, you're going to need all the help you can get.
I don't like the way she said that, but I know she's right. I pull off my tunic enough to wrap the wound, tying it off tightly. Celine watches, her gaze flicking to the old scars crisscrossing my torso. She doesn't comment, but I see the recognition in her eyes. We both have our ghosts. Once finished, I straighten. You said you might know something? Start talking.
There's been movement in the city. Someone high up, very high up, is making power plays in the dark. I don't know who, but the Emerald Veil is involved. And if they ordered a hit on you, it means you got too close to something they want buried.
A knot forms in my stomach. Too close to what? I replay the night. The contract on Voston, the empty study, the assassins lying in wait. It wasn't a test. It was a message. Someone wanted me silenced, and that meant there was only one thing left to do. Find him first. I stand, testing my balance. I need to get back to the brass quarter.
You're injured, half the city wants you dead, and your best plan is to walk into the district controlled by your would-be killers?
I smirk. Did you expect anything less? She shakes her head, laughing under her breath.
You're an idiot.
Probably. Celine sighs, then grabs a pair of daggers from the table and straps them to her belt. I frown. What are you doing?
Coming with you?
I hesitate. Not because I don't want the backup, but because Celine never does anything without a reason. I study her carefully. Why? Her dark emerald eyes glint with something unreadable.
Because whatever's happening in Venari is big, and I want a front row seat.
She isn't lying, but she isn't telling the whole truth either. Still, I don't have time to argue. I nod. Fine, but if you get in my way...
You'll kill me? Please, Raezur, you'd miss me too much.
I shake my head and push open the door, stepping into the cold night air. The city is waiting, and I intend to get my answers. Celine and I moved like ghosts through the streets, slipping between shadows cast by the flickering lanterns above. The city hummed around us. The distant sound of revelers in the taverns, the soft shuffle of beggars in doorways, the occasional clang of a city watchman's pike striking the stone path. Venari was alive, as it always had been. A city of thieves, mercenaries, nobles draped in silks, and paupers drowning in filth. It was a place where men and women built empires in the dark and watched them crumble in the morning light. But something had changed. The usual rhythm felt off. The air was thicker, charged with an unspoken tension. I'd spent years hunting in these streets, slipping through alleys unseen, and yet now I felt watched, not by common thugs or rival assassins, but by something else entirely. Celine noticed it too. She glanced sideways at me as we reached a quieter back alley, the amber glow of a lantern painting half her face in gold.
You feel it too, don't you?
I nodded. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Then she exhaled, shaking her head.
This isn't just about you anymore, Raezur. The Emerald Veil doesn't make mistakes. If they wanted you dead, you'd be dead.
I scowled. Tell that to the ones I left bleeding on the rooftops. She smirked.
Oh, I'm sure they underestimated you, but the real question is, why?
That was the piece I was missing. Someone had sent me after Vostin. Someone had wanted me eliminated the moment I stepped foot in that study. But why? The answers lay in the brass quarter. The streets grew narrower as we approached the edge of the district. The brass quarter was named for its once thriving metal trade. Blacksmiths, jewelers, and coiners used to control this part of the city. Now, it was a den of secrets. Couriers whispered coded messages in back rooms. Coin exchanged hands for knowledge that could topple nobles. And somewhere among these tangled streets was the broker who had given me my last job, and I intended to find her. We slipped into a side street, avoiding a patrol of watchmen. The broker I needed, Veyna, operated out of a run-down apothecary. The sign above the door was worn and barely legible, but I knew better than to trust appearances. Celine leaned in.
I assume we're not walking in the front door?
I gave her a flat look. She sighed.
Fine. Lead the way, Shadow.
We moved around the building, finding a narrow set of stone steps leading down to a side entrance. I checked the door, feeling along the frame. The slightest tension on the handle told me it was trapped. I smiled. Veyna was always careful. I pulled a fine, hooked tool from a hidden compartment in my bracer and slid it beneath the handle. A quick flick and click. The tension released. Celine arched a brow.
And people say you're only good at killing.
I ignored her and pushed the door open. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of herbs and something stronger, something alchemical. The dimly lit room was cluttered with shelves stacked high with vials, dried roots, and ancient-looking tomes. A few lanterns flickered with a dull, golden light. Veyna sat behind a wooden counter, her sharp blue eyes cutting through the dimness like daggers. She was tall and lean, with short-cropped, silver-streaked hair, and a face that had seen more than its fair share of danger.
Raezur?
She greeted smoothly, though her fingers remained close to the dagger strapped to her thigh.
I was beginning to wonder if you were still alive.
I stepped forward, my voice even. That makes two of us. Her gaze flicked to Celine.
And you brought company. I assume this is about the contract?
I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out a small, folded scrap of parchment and tossed it onto the counter. The broken green wax seal was still visible. Veyna's expression shifted. Not surprise, not confusion, but something colder. She leaned back, studying me. Then finally she sighed.
You should have burned that.
Celine's hand drifted to her own daggers.
So you do know what's going on?
I know enough to tell you this. Walk away. Drop this now, and maybe you live.
I didn't move. Who ordered the hit? She hesitated. Then, too quick to be an accident, her gaze flicked to the side, toward a shelf stacked with glass vials. A signal. I lunged. The side door to the apothecary exploded inward. 4 men clad in dark cloaks rushed in, weapons flashing in the lantern light. I caught a glint of emerald on their blades. The veil had found us. I barely had time to twist before the first dagger came slicing toward my ribs. I knocked the blade aside, pivoting, using my attacker's momentum against him. His own weight sent him crashing into a wooden shelf, bottles shattering around him. Celine was already moving. I saw the flash of her blade as she ducked under a swinging sword, slashing upward, a clean cut across the throat. Blood sprayed across the wooden floor as the assassin crumpled. Veyna was gone. I spotted the remnants of a secret hatch behind the counter, An escape route. She had known this would happen. She had set us up. Rage burned in my chest, but I had no time to dwell on it. A second attacker came at me, wielding twin daggers. He was fast, trained, but not faster than me. I parried, twisted, and drove my blade into his gut. He gasped, blood bubbling at his lips. Celine dodged another strike, spinning behind her opponent and ramming her dagger into his kidney. The last assassin hesitated, seeing his comrades fall. A mistake. Celine didn't give him time to rethink his loyalty. She lunged, burying her blade between his ribs. And just like that, the fight was over. The apothecary was wrecked. Shelves lay shattered. Glass crunched beneath my boots, and the scent of blood mixed with the sharp aroma of crushed herbs. Celine wiped her blade on a fallen cloak.
Well, that went well.
I wasn't amused. I moved to the counter, scanning the floor, searching for anything Veyna might have left behind. My fingers brushed against a small slip of parchment. I unfolded it. A single word was written there. Solace. My stomach tightened. Celine peered over my shoulder.
What the hell does that mean?
I stared at the word, my mind racing. Solace wasn't a place. It was a name, a code for something much, much worse. And whatever it was the real reason the Emerald Vale wanted me dead. Blood still clung to my blade as I stared at the single word on the slip of parchment. Solace. It meant something. Something important enough that Veyna was willing to betray me over it. The apothecary reeked of blood and crushed herbs. The shattered vials glistened in the dim lantern light, their contents seeping into the wooden floor. The bodies of the assassins lay sprawled around us, their emerald-clad daggers still clutched in stiffening fingers. Celine nudged one of the corpses with the tip of her boot.
Not exactly subtle, are they?
I ignored her. My mind was already working. Veyna had known this was coming. She had been waiting for me. And she had left this, Solace, as a clue, a warning, a taunt, a trap. Celine leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching me with sharp eyes.
So, what's next?
I exhaled slowly. We find out what solace means.
And here I thought we were going to do the smart thing and get out of the city.
I slipped the parchment into my bracer. You still have that option. She scoffed.
After all this? No, I'm in. But you owe me answers, because right now it seems like you're just as in the dark as I am.
She wasn't wrong. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one in control. The Emerald Vale wanted me dead. Someone had orchestrated Voston's assassination, and I had been nothing more than a pawn in their game. And now this, Solace, had appeared as the first real thread to pull. But I needed more. I wiped my blade clean and turned toward the hidden hatch behind the counter. Veyna had escaped through here. Celine noticed my intent and sighed.
You think she left a trail?
I think she's smart enough to cover it, I admitted, gripping the handle. But not perfectly. With a sharp pull, I lifted the hatch. The hinges creaked, revealing a dark, narrow tunnel carved from stone. The scent of damp earth and mildew wafted up. A smuggler's route, no doubt. One of many that ran beneath the city. Celine crouched beside me.
Let's assume we find her. Then what?
I looked at her. Then we make her talk.
Now that's the Raezur I know.
We slipped inside. The tunnel was tight, forcing us to move single file. The walls were rough, the air damp. Small sconces with flickering candlelight lined the passage at irregular intervals, their weak glow barely pushing back the darkness. Veyna had a head start, but she wouldn't have taken risks. If she was running, she had somewhere safe in mind, and I had a good guess where.